Begin today the Gemara on Daf Nun Tes Amud Beis, 3 lines from the bottom where it says Amar Abaye. So this is a continuation from what Rav says over here before. What Rav said was, in the beginning of the Peirik, the Mishnah says that a person is Mekadesh Isha, and he tells her that Hareh Mukadeshes li me'achshav ula'acha shleishim yom. What does me'achshav ula'acha shleishim yom mean? He says first from now, and then afterwards he says la'acha shleishim yom. The Mishnah says Mukadeshes ve'ena Mukadeshes, that there's a suffix Kidushin here. So the question is, what's the pshat? Why is there a suffix Kidushin? I mean, the Mishnah here says the case of the Mishnah was someone else came and was Mekadesh within 30 days. So the question is she Mekadeshes to the first person or to the second person? The Mishnah says it's a suffix. So Rav's pshat is that when a person says Me'achshav alacha shloshim yoim, it can mean one of two things. It could be a t'nai or it could be a chazara. Which means either when he says Me'achshav alacha shloshim yoim, he wants the Kidushin to be chal me'achshav, and he's not changing that. La'acha shloshim yoim is just a condition. If within 30 days I don't tell you that I changed my mind, then the Kidushin will take be chal retroactively from me'achshav from now. But then it could be something else. It could be a chazara. He first said me'achshav, you should be mekadeshes to me now. Then he changed his mind. And he said, no, you should not be mekadeshes to me from now. You should only be mekadeshes to me after 30 days. Now, if that's the case, then whoever else comes and is mekadesh within 30 days, so she's mekadeshes to the second person because he changed his mind. So that's the suffix over here in the Mishnah regarding this lashon of me'achshav alacha shleishim yom. That's Rav. So on this, Amar Abaye says we're on the bottom of Nun Tes Amud Beis. So Abaye says ulataimei de Rav. According to this explanation of Rav, Bo echad va'amala. One man comes and tells this woman, Hareh mukadeshes li me'achshav alacha shleishim yom. You mukadeshes to me, and with this language he says, from now and after 30 days. Ubo achiv amar. The second person came to this woman and said, Hareh mukadeshes li me'achshav alacha esrim yom. You mukadeshes to me from now after 20 days. Second person. Now, third person, Ubo acher va'amala, and tells her on the top of Daf Samach. We went up a lot ahead, one top of Daf Samach. A third person came along and said to her, you mekadeshes to me from now after 10 days. So now, to who is she mekadeshes? Rashi here says that really the last person, says here in the Gemara, that the last person said, you mekadeshes to me from now after 10 days. The Gemara didn't even have to add that. It could have just said that the last person said, you mekadeshes to me now, and that's it. So, says Abaye, according to Rav, it comes out as follows. Me'rishayin u'me'achrayin, from the first man and from the last one, tzricha get, she needs a get. Me'emtzai, ein tzricha get. From the middle one, she will not need a get. And the Gemara explains why. Manavshach, because either way you look at it, it'll come out that from the middle person, there's no need for a get. So again, let me just begin to say what Rav says about this concept here. Rav says when you use this kind of language, it's a suffix whether what he's saying is a t'nai, and really the Kidushin is taking effect right away from now, or is it a chazara, which means that the Kidushin is only taking effect at the end of the time that you said, after 30 days, after 20 days. So therefore the Gemara explains as follows. Itna havoi, if when he says, the first person said, me'achshav v'la'ach shleishim yom, if that's only a condition, so the kame kiddushi, so then it would come out that the first man that was mekadesh, his Kidushin took effect, because when the 30 days comes, so then retroactively she is mekadeshes from the beginning. That it's a condition. So, but the Kidushin takes effect from the beginning, and the harach lav kiddushi. The other two that came afterwards, their Kidushin is worthless. She's already mekadeshes to the first. If you're going to say that when the man adds la'acha shleishim yom or la'acha esrim yom, so the Kidushin is only taking effect when that time comes, so then the Basroi Kiddushi, the last one that was Mekadesher, his Kiddushin is a Kiddushin, because he was Mekadesh before the time that their Kiddushin takes effect happens. So the Hanach Lav Kiddushi. And the first two Kiddushin is not Kiddushin. So therefore it comes out that either way, the middle person that said Machshav Alacha Esrim Yoim, his Kiddushin does not take effect. The first person, it's possible his Kiddushin takes effect, because maybe it's a T'nai, so he comes first. The last person, it's possible that his Kidushin takes effect, because if it's a chazara, So then Adarabe, the other ones were chayzer, and he chapped and before the time that their Kidushin takes effect comes, so his Kidushin takes, but the middle person, either way, there's no reason for his Kidushin. That's the point that Abaye said, according to Rav. So the Gemara asks on this, Pshita, isn't this point that Abaye is saying here very obvious? I mean, it's a story with a night with its cheshbon and it fits, but it's, if you just think about the details there, it's obvious that this is what it would come out according to Rav. What's the Chiddush? Answers the Gemara, the Chiddush is as follows. Ma'al the Tema, I would think maybe we should understand what Rav said a little differently. Hi Lishna. When a person uses this kind of lashon, again, me'achshav or la'achash loishim yom, so there's sort of a contradiction in his lashon. So we're not sure what he means to say by this. Maybe I would say mashma tna or mashma chazara. The pshat over here is not that it's a suffix that maybe it means a tnai and maybe it means chazara. And if it means tnai, then all these three people that use this expression are saying it as a tnai. If it means a chazara, that you're being chayzer and saying the Kiddushin should only take effect later, then all these three people are saying it as a chazara. No. Maybe according to Rav, using this kind of language, it could be either or. Some people use it in a context of a tanai, and some people use it as a chazara. And therefore, if that's the case, it would actually be necessary for this woman to have a get from each one of them, because it's possible that what the first person said is a chazara, and then there's place for the second person's kedushin to be chal. It's possible that what the second person said is a chazara. It's possible for each one of the people over here that's using this lashon, so Rashi makes a cheshbon. You don't know. It's possible that maybe the second two was a chazara and the first one was a tanai. So maybe the first one was chal. It's possible that the last one was a tanai and the other two was a chazara. So there's no one pshat in what this term means. It can be different for each one of the three people. So maybe it would be necessary to have a get from all of them. Kamash Malon. That's why Abaye came and said this case here, according to Rav. So we understand now that when Rav had this explanation of our Mishnah and that there's a suffix, what this lashon means, what Rav meant to say is, either this lashon means a t'nai or the lashon means chazara. If it means a t'nai, then anybody that uses lashon means just a t'nai, or if it means chazara, then anybody that uses this lashon, it means chazara. It's not, you can't say that maybe for one person it's t'nai and for another person it's chazara. Sagt der Gemara weiter, we're on Daf Samach. Sagt the Gemara weiter, Ula Omar Rab Yechanan. Ula said in the name of Rab Yechanan regarding this case over here, regarding this whole concept of when a person uses this lashon, me'achshav v'lachash leishim yoyim, and then a second person comes and says me'achshav v'lach esrim yoyim. You say you have another person that's mekadesh and so on. So Ula says in the name of Rab Yechanan, afila meya tovsim ba. The Kidushin of even 100 people could be chal over here. So Rab Yechanan has a completely different understanding over here. Not like what Rav said, that there's a suffix over here when someone else comes and is mekadesh in the middle. So now there's a suffix whether the first person was chayzer or not. It's not the pshat what Rabbi Yechanan is saying, as we'll see soon. The Gemara will explain. And before also, the Gemara brought the opinion of Shmuel that it's a t'nai. Shmuel before in Daf Nun Tes Amud Beis says that when a person uses this lashon of me'achshav v'lachash loishim yoyim, it's only a t'nai. Once the 30 days comes, the Kidushin takes effect retroactively. Therefore, Shmuel says that only up until 30 days, the second person that was Mekadesh, there could be a suffix whether that Kidushin will take effect, because the first person might still back out. He's giving himself time to back out. But once the 30 days comes, then the Kidushin for sure goes back to the first person. That's what Shmuel says. Omer Rabbi Yechanan says, no, afila meya tovsim ba, that the Kidushin will take effect for 100 people over here. The Kidushin takes effect for 100 people. One person's Mekadesh, another person. Each one person says after 30 days, another person says after 29 days, whatever it is, as many people, they could all come and be Mekadesh this Isha. And it's all going to be Taifis. Now, what's the explanation for this? How does that work? So Rashi here explains that the reason why the Gemara has to give an explanation is because in the Lashon that Rabbi Yechanan says, Taifsin ba, it's clear that he's not saying the same svara as Rav. Rav was saying that there's a suffix, because it's not clear, this lashon, when the first person said la'achash leishim yoyim, does he mean that the Kidushin is only chal later, or is the Kidushin chal retroactively from the beginning? So therefore now there's going to be a suffix when other people come and are mekadesh in between this time frame, so whose Kidushin took effect? Who's she married to? But Rabbi Yechanan is not saying this as a suffix. Rabbi Yechanan is saying Toifsim, but Toif is for 100 people. What's the pshat on this? So Amulei Rav Mishar Shibirei Rav Amila Ravasi that Asberoloch time with Rabbi Yechanan. I'll explain you what Rabbi Yechanan was saying. The explanation is Shavu Nafshei Kishrage Delivni. That each one of these men over here, when they're Mekadesh is Isha, it's like a row of bricks. The Chol Chad V'Chad, when you pile up a row of bricks, so each one of them, Rafche L'Chavrei Shavak, you leave space for the next row on top of it, that they shouldn't topple all over one another. So Rashi says, when you pile up a bunch of rows of bricks, so if you're going to pile them all straight up, and they're all the same width bricks, and you're piling them up one on top of the other, very smooth and clear. So what's going to happen is eventually the wall is going to topple over. It can't stand bricks that are piled up one on top of the other. You have to pile the bricks. You have the bottom layer, and then the next layer on top of it. You have to leave some space, and the next layer on top is going to sit on 2 bricks. And the next layer on top as well, you have to leave some space, and it also lies on 2 bricks. And like this, it's able to be stable and be balanced. So the same thing is just a mashal over here to say that when the first person was Mekadesh and says that you Mekadeshes to me from now, what he's saying is that you're partially Mekadeshes to me, and the Kidushin will only complete after 30 days. That's what he was saying. So therefore there is a Kidushin, but not a complete Kidushin. So there's space for someone else to be Mekadesh. Now the second person says he's being Mekadesher after 20 days. It's also a partial Kedushin, and the Kedushin takes effect fully after 20 days. And so therefore each one is leaving space for someone else to come and be Mekadesh. That's the pshat of it. The Gemara later, and when it talks about Rabbi Yechanan's Shittah, refers to this as a lashon of, right over here, so we'll see Shir, that each man over here leaves over space for the other person that the Kedushin should be Chal. Usually the way Kidushin works is you Mekadesh her and she's Mekadeshes completely right away. Right? There's no half Kidushin. But over here the Kidushin is in such a way that he's leaving over space for someone else to be Mekadesh. It's not the Kidushin is only, it's like a process of Kidushin. He's telling her, I want to be Mekadesh with a lengthy Kidushin. Usually Kidushin is a second. When you say it's a lengthy Kidushin, so part of the Kidushin took effect now and it's completing. When is it going to be fully complete? After 30 days. So until it's not complete, there's space for someone else to be Mekadesher. That Taisus over here points out that this is not similar to what it said in the beginning of the Masechta, towards the beginning of Zayin, that you can't be Mekadesher half the Isha. Ish, and not a half Isha. He says over there, you're being Mekadesh a half Isha, there's no such a thing. Over here, you're being Mekadesh the full Isha with a Kitzas Kinyan, with a partial Kedushin. The Kedushin, you said a Lashon where the Kedushin did not yet take fully effect. For that, there's no exclusion from the pasuk that you can't do such a thing. When a person wants to make a lengthy Kedushin, so at this point in this time frame, there's only a partial Kedushin, so therefore there's space for someone else to be Mekadesh in between, and it'll all take effect to some extent. Now, another point here, obviously this does not mean that she's actually Mekadeshes to all these people, and she could live with all these people. Isha cannot be Mekadeshes to more than one Ish. Elamai, what this means is that she can't live with any of them. And she's going to have to get a get from each one of them. If she wants to live with one of them, she's going to have to get a get from all others in order for her to be able to be Mekadeshes fully just to one. That's what it means. But it doesn't actually mean that she's really fully Mekadeshes to each one of them. Okay, this is a unique concept that you have over here in the Gemara. Rabbi Yechanan says.
But according to Rabbi Yechanan, how could you be Mekadesh to 2 people? What's the difference?
Why not?
Because
that's the Chiddush of Rabbi Yechanan over here. When you have a Kitzas Kinyan to one, a Kitzas Kiddushin to one, you Mekadesh to the other one because the first Kiddushin did not finish yet. So the space for another Kiddushin to be Chal. She's not. What locks out the ability of another person to be Mekadesh to Sisha? Because she's an Eishes Ish. But if she's not yet fully an Eishes Ish, so there's just a partial kinyan of Eishes Ish, so there's space for someone else to come and be Mekadesh here as well. Not to actually, so because she's partially Mekadesh to one and partially to the other, so she's not committed to, she's not fully Mekadesh to one, she can't live with either one of them. True, she's just going to need a get from each one of them. But it's not a full Eishes Ish yet.
Well, after 10 days, can he Mekadesh her? After 10 days? What we said after 10 days.
Yeah.
So if the 10 days that passed, can he make a shor?
Yeah, but it's all the Kedushin is going to be taifis for each one of the people that were Mekadesher. Whoever is Mekadesher, it's all going to be taifis, and therefore it's going to be a problem. She's Mekadeshes partially to each one of these people. That's the Chiddush of Rabbi Yechanan. Okay, Zok the Gemara, Masav Rav Chanina. Rav Chanina asked on this Chiddush of Rabbi Yochanan as follows. Regarding a get, it says, the Gemara quoted this before on Daf Nun Tes. Ma'ayayim ala chamise get ve'ena get. If a person says to his wife, I'm giving you this get. And first he says that the get should take effect hayom, today. And then he says, no, la'achamise, should take effect after I die. So get ve'ena get. So this get, it's a suffix, if it's a get or not. Is it taking effect now? Or is he saying that it should take effect after he dies? And there's no get after he dies. So then it's not a get. So it's a suffix. So therefore, if he dies without children, and now there's a brother that would have to do yibum or chalitze, chalitze is v'loy misyabemes. You could only do chalitze, but not yibum, because in such a case, it's a suffix if there was a get here or not. So it's a suffix if she needs yibum or not. So now the Gemara goes back to the different opinions that we had before in the Gemara regarding this whole situation over here. So this case of ma'ayay malacha mise is very similar to what we're talking about over here regarding the Kidushin, where a person says me'achshav, and then he says la'acha shleishim yom. It's basically the same lashon. There it's regarding get, and here it's regarding Kidushin. So now the Gemara says bishleim Rav, according to Rav, that says that when you use such a kind of terminology, it's a suffix what you meant. Do you mean it should be chal now? Do you mean it should be chal later? So misayayale. This is a clear ayah. We're saying the same thing regarding a get. It's a suffix. Does he mean the get should be chal now, should be chal later? L'Shmuel nami, according to Shmuel, now Shmuel says, as I mentioned before, Shmuel's opinion is that he wants the get or the Kiddushin to be chal now. When he says la'achamisa, that's just a condition. If I don't change my mind until I die, then the Kiddushin should be chal from now. So according to Shmuel, this should definitely be a get. So this should be a question on Shmuel. So Shmuel will answer you, Hamani Rabbananhi. This is only according to the opinion of the Rabbanon, Vanan, the Amri, or Vana, the Amri Kirebi. And I follow Rebbe's opinion, and Rebbe holds that in such a case, it will be a suffix. I think this is also what the Gemara quoted before, and towards the end of Daf Nun Tes, the Gemara brought over there, this machlokes of Chachamim. Rebbe says on this exact case, Kozeh get, that this is a get. So Shmuel goes according to Rebbe's opinion. So that's understood. However, Rabbi Yochanan came up with this new concept here regarding Kiddushin. When you use this expression of ma'achshav, what does that mean? The Amma, shiyurehave, that the first Kiddushin started taking effect, but it's not complete. You left over space for someone else to be Mekadesh. If so, if that's the svara by Kidushin, what would happen if we would apply that logic by a get? You can't say by a get there's such a thing. That a get has a partial get, and then there's the process, and then it completes later. Kol gitta, the mishayaba by a get, the halacha is, if you're leaving over anything, any connection still to your wife, in this get, v'le klumu, it's nothing. By a get, there can't be such a concept that it's a process and it didn't complete yet until later. And Rashi brings a get has to be krisus. Krisus means severed, completely cut. If so, if you applied Rabbi Yochanan's svara to a get, so it shouldn't be a get at all. And if so, yivum miyavim, if this lashon was used, so then you should have to have yibum, because it's clear that there was no get here at all. So why does it say chaletzes v'loy misyabemes? Amaravis, Rav answers, get lahaitzi. Over here, what happened? The husband gave her such a kind of get, which begins the process, and the get does not complete yet, taking her out from her husband's, from being a wife. So, but the get is lahaitzi. The get is to be moitzi her, umisa lahaitzi. And then when the husband dies, the death of her husband also is moitzi her from being his wife. So mashashir get, was this get here, which was a partial get left over, gomrase misa. The misa completes this. Right, so what Rav says is that the misa over here completes what the get began. Be'emes, he's giving her a get. And he's telling her mahayim that the get is starting now. Elamai, it didn't complete 100%. She, because the get really began, she's not in the husband's possession anymore. But it's not complete. So when the husband dies, that completes it. Now the husband's not here. So we said whatever the get left over. So you said it's not krisas. The misa completes that. That's the svara of Rava. So we could apply the svara of Rabbi Yochanan regarding Kiddushin over here in this case when the misa completes it. But the Gemara doesn't agree with this. Abaye doesn't agree with this svara. Amalei Abaye midami. How can you compare what get does and what the misa does? We're all talking over here in relation to this woman. The question is whether she needs yibum now from a brother or not. Get maitzia mirishus yavam. If she has a get, it's not only maitzia from the husband, it's also maitzia from the mitzvah of yibum from the brother. Misa machnasa l'rishus yavam. But if the husband dies, misa, as much as it disconnects from her first husband, but it brings her in to the mitzvah of yibum to the brother. So Misa is doing something which is the opposite of a get. You can't say that whatever is left over, the Misa completes. If the Misa is works in a completely different direction, opposite of a get, so Misa does not complete what the get left over. So the question remains on Rabbi Yochanan. Well, why? What's the pshat of it? Why are we saying when you use this lashon mayom b'lacha misa that you could only do chalitza and not yibum? You should be able to do yibum as well. There was no get here at all. Elama Abaye, so therefore Abaye says, really, there should be no reason that you can't do Yibum, but it's Gzeirim Midrabanan. Hasam, time Memai, Gzeirim Mishum Mehayoim Im Mati. Over there it's a Gzeira that you shouldn't compare this case to the case of where a person says to his wife when he gives her a get, that I'm giving you the get Mehayoim Im Mati. Now Mehayoim Im Mati is a different lashon than Mehayoim Ulacha Misa. Mehayoim Im Mati, over there it's clear, Harezeh get. That's definitely a get. This lashon of mayom imati means that the get is taking effect now. Imati is just a condition. So over there, it's definitely a get, and therefore it's aser for her to do any yibum. This is a eishes ach, and the brother died. The first husband, the brother died. She's not allowed to do any yibum. So if you're going to say that the case of mayom ula'acha misa is going to do yibum, and so then people might think that by mayom imati you're also allowed to do yibum, and over there you're not allowed to. So therefore, there were guys that you should only do chalitza. If so, when a husband says and in such a case the get for sure took effect, and therefore she doesn't need no chalitza, no yibum, but still we should be geyser here that she should need chalitza, be geyser in the reverse. That if you're going to say by the case of Ma'ayim Mati, even though it's definitely a get, but if you're going to say that she doesn't need anything here, so then people might say regarding the case of Ma'ayim Ulacha where it's not a get, that over there she needs nothing. And the truth is over there, she needs Yibum or at least Chalitza. So let's be guided in the reverse, that when you say Ma'ayim Mati, that she should need Chalitza. So the Gemara says, no, Chachamim can't be guys of that. If you're going to say that if the husband gave her a proper get, because he said Ma'ayim Mati, and that is a good get. Nevertheless, she has to do chalitza misya bemes. People might make the mistake and think that she's could even do yibum as well. She's going to end up doing yibum, and the yibum is a isser because she really got a good get, and now this is a brother's wife where you're not allowed to do any. Not allowed to get married to her. Says the Gemara, if so, if you're being geyser that if you're going to allow to do chalitza, then you might come to do yibum as well. If so, why don't you say the same thing regarding going back to the case of Mahayim ula achamisa? What's if the husband says this lashon of Mahayim ula achamisa, which is certainly not a get, and really you don't need not chalitza and not yibum? So what are you saying? The only reason you need chalitza is not to confuse it with the case of Mahayim Mati. But if you're going to say you could do chalitza, you might come to do yibum as well, as you just said. So the Gemara says that's not a question. Tisyavim. What's if she comes and does yibum? Let her do yibum. It's not a problem. Chashasha derabbanan. The only reason we don't allow her to do yibum is gzeirim derabbanan. Really, minat Torah, the yibum is 100% perfect because she never really got a get. Mahayim ula'acha misa is not a get. So therefore, Chachamim do not. If in the end she will do yibum, it's not a problem. Okay, this whole Gemara we had also in, I think it was in Gittin. Same Gemara. Okay, let's go weiter. Person says to a woman, you're Mukadeshes to me, with the condition that I'll give you 200 zuz. So she's Mukadeshes, but who yitin? He has to fulfill his condition and give her that money. So in other words, he's giving her one pruta now. She's Mukadeshes with the pruta right away, and then he has to give her that money that he promised he'll give her. If he tells her, I'm going to give you this money from now till 30 days. If he gave her that money within 30 days, she'll be Mukadeshes. If you didn't give it to her in that time frame, she's not Mukadeshes. Another case, the husband says, no, the man says, I'm Mukadeshes you on the condition that I have 200 zuz. She'll be Mukadeshes, but that's only if he actually has that money. If he told her, on the condition that I will show you 200 zuz. Now, what does it mean, I'll show you 200 zuz? She'll be Mukadeshes v'yarela, and he has to show her, but he has to show her 200 zuz that he owns. It's not just stam that I'll show you 200 zuz that belongs to someone else. So the Mishnah says, "V'imhera al hashulchan ena mukadeshes." If this man is a money changer and he has other people's money on the table and he shows you here 200 zuz, that's not what he meant in his condition when he says that I'll show you 200 zuz. It means that it's his 200 zuz. So the Gemara here begins with the first case of the Mishnah where the person said, "Al menas that I give you, I'll give you 200 zuz." So it said, "Harezim mukadeshes v'hu yitin." So itmer. On this we learned the machlokes. How do we read the Mishnah? Ravuna Amar. Ravuna says that the way to read the Mishnah is v'hu yitin, that when the husband wants, then he will give her the 200 zuz, and the Kidushin will take effect retroactively from the time when he gave her the pruta. So true, he has to give her that money, he has to fulfill his condition. If he's not going to fulfill the condition before he dies, so then there's no Kidushin here at all, because he didn't fulfill the condition. But when he fulfills the condition, the Kidushin takes effect retroactively from when he gave her the pruta in the beginning. That's Rav Huna. Rav Yudah Amar likeshe yitin. When a person says al menas, so the Kiddushin only takes effect when he gives the money. Maybe he's supposed to read in the Mishnah this way, but when it says in the Mishnah v'hu yitin, it means then, when he gives the money, that's when the Kiddushin takes effect. It does not take effect retroactively. So the Gemara explains, Rav Huna Amar v'hu yitin. What does v'hu yitin mean? To know, it's just a condition. He has to fulfill the condition. He has time to fulfill the condition. But when he fulfills the condition, it takes effect retroactively from when he gave her the prut in the beginning. Rav Yudah Amar likeshayite. What does likeshayite mean? Lichiyav have a Kiddushin. When he gives her this 200 zuz, then the Kiddushin begins. Hashtamil have a Kiddushin. Now there's no Kiddushin here at all. So the Gemara says the practical difference between them. My benayu, ikke benayu. The difference between the two opinions would be shapashta yada v'kibla kedusha me'acher. If in this time frame before he gave her this 200 zuz, she went and accepted a kedushin from someone else. L'Rav Huna le'av kedushi. According to Rav Huna, it's not a kedushin, because when the first man fulfills this condition and gives her the money, it's chal for the first man retroactively. So the second kedushin is nothing. Rav Yehuda have a kiddushi, but according to Rav Yehuda, it is going to be a kiddushin, the second one, because the kiddushin of the first one is only chal when he gives her that money. Yeah, Tanai and Chazara, the same exact point as the Gemara said, as we were learning before, and the Gemara is actually going to connect it to the same two opinions that were brought before, Rebbe and the Rabbanan, as we'll see in the continuation. Now the Gemara first brings that the exact same machlokes comes up regarding a get. Tanana migabi get, and by a get we have the same point. Person says to a woman, here, this is a get on the condition that you give me 200 zuz. She's divorced, and she has to give that money. So on this as well, we learned the same machlokes. Rav Huna Amar that then she has to give it. The get is chal retroactively if she gives the money. Rav Yudah Amar when she gives the money, that's when the get takes effect. Rav Huna Amar she gives the money to it's just a condition. She fulfills the condition and goes, meaning that the condition is chal retroactively. What does likeshetite mean? Who the havoy get. Only when she gives the money, that's when the get takes effect. Hashta miyah loy have a get. But now, before she gives the money, there's no get here at all. Okay, exact same machlokes. So the Gemara here says, my benayu. What is the difference between Rav Huna and Rav Yehuda? So Rashi says the Gemara can't simply say that the difference is whether she's allowed to go and get married to someone else before this condition is fulfilled, because we don't know if the condition is going to be fulfilled. So she gets married to someone else, the children of the second marriage may end up being mamzedim if the t'nai is not fulfilled. So either way, she can't get married to someone else. So what is the difference between the two opinions? Says the Gemara, Ike beinayu, the difference is sheniskara haget oisha avad. If the get got torn or got lost before she gave the money of the condition. Let Rav Huna have a get. According to Rav Huna, it doesn't matter. The get is going to be a get, even though now when she gives the money, there is no get in the world anymore, but the get is taking effect retroactively, and then when she had the get in her hands. Let Rav Yehuda lo have a get. According to Rav Yehuda, because the get only takes effect now when she gives the money, and now there's no get here. So therefore the get doesn't take effect. So now the Gemara will explain why do we have to have the same din and the same machlokes between Rav Huna and Rav Yehuda regarding what it says by Kidushin and what it says by Gittin. Says the Gemara Tzriche was necessary to point out both of these cases. If we would say this all by Kidushin, I would say Rav Huna. Over here, Rav Huna said that the Kidushin is really chal right away, because this man is coming to bring her closer. He wants to marry her, so he wants to finish the deal right away with this pruta that he's giving her. The condition is going to come later, but he wants to marry her now. But by Gedushin, where he wants to separate and divorce her, and that's something which is more difficult for a husband to do. Maybe here we agree to Rav Yehuda that when he says that he makes the condition, you should give me this money, he doesn't want the get to take effect until then. And the reverse says the Gemara, if we would only say the case over here by the get, I would say, over here by the get, Rav Huna said that it takes effect right away, because the man is not embarrassed to then later go and demand the money of this condition that he made up with his wife that she has to give him. So he doesn't mind, let the Kidushin be, let the get that is bichal right away. Even though he made a condition that she is going to give him money, he's going to run after her and he's going to demand that money from her. But when it comes to Kedushin, the nature of a woman is that she is going to be embarrassed to demand the money from him. So when she hears that he makes a condition that the Kedushin is with this money, so Rav Yehuda over here maybe agrees to Rav Yehuda that she's not interested in the Kedushin taking effect until she actually gets the money. If the Kedushin takes effect right away, so then she's not going to go and be embarrassed to get this money. So therefore, Rav Huna had to say over here that no, the Kidushin does take effect right away when he uses this lashon. So now the Gemara asks over here, Meisvei, regarding a get, it says clearly, a man says to his wife, here's your get on the condition that you give me 200 zuz, the case we're talking about. So here the Braisa spells out clearly, Afal Pishin Iskara get, Oisha Avad, even if the get got torn or lost before she gave the money, Hareza Mugareshes. She's Mugareshes right away, exactly like Rav Huna said. But she shouldn't get married to anybody else until she fulfills the condition, because if she's not going to fulfill the condition, then it will come out that there is no get. But it says clearly here in this Braisa, like Rav Huna's opinion, that the get takes effect right away. So this refutes what Rav Yehuda said. Further, we have in another Braisa a question on Rav Yehuda. It's the same case. I'm giving you a get on the condition that you give me 200 zuz, and this person the husband passed away. So Nasna, if she gave him this money before he passed away, so then the get took effect. And Ein Zakukali Yavam. So then she doesn't, if there's no children here, she needs no Yibum. Loy Nasna, but if she did not give any money, so she didn't fulfill her condition, so there's no get. Zakukali Yavam. She'll need to have the mitzvah of Yibum. Rav Shimon Gamliel says she still has a way to fulfill her condition after her husband died. Nisenes la'achiv, she can give to a brother that is the inheritor of her husband, or aviv, or to a father, or to one of the relatives. So when the husband made the condition that she gives 200 zuz, it didn't mean only to him. After he passes away, she can give the money to someone else. Says the Gemara, so what do we see here in this Bryce? This is also a question of Rav Yehuda. What is the argument here between the Tanakama and Rav Shimon Gamliel? Elodamar Savar, Tanakama holds the condition that the husband made, you're going to give me 200 zuz. What does that mean? Leave a Leili Yarshai. You have to give me the money, not to any of the people that inherit me. So therefore, if she didn't give the money when he was alive, she can't fulfill the condition anymore. Umar Savar, Rav Shimon Gamliel holds Afilu Yarshai, that the condition includes also that she can give the money to others, to relatives as well. But the kula alma miyat noave. But everybody would agree that using this expression, saying that or making this condition, that is, that you're going to give money, it's just a condition. And if you fulfill the condition takes effect, or the get, that is, takes effect from the beginning. And therefore, even if the get is lost or destroyed, the get takes effect from the beginning. Says the Gemara to Yufta that Rav Yehuda. This refutes what Rav Yehuda said, that the get only takes effect later when she gives the money. Amalach Rav Yehuda will answer you. You're right, and this comes back to the same point the Gemara brought before, the machlokes of Rebbe and the Rabbanon about such kind of languages. Hamani Rebbe he. This Bryce over here is Rebbe. The Amar Ravuna Amar Rebbe. Rav Huna also said the name of Rebbe. Kol Omer Almanas. When a person uses the term almanas, that I'm being mekadesh with this and this condition, and in our case, what's the condition? That you're going to give me money? That term means that when you fulfill the condition, then the condition takes effect retroactively from now. So that's these brises of here are going according to the opinion of Rebbe. But upligi Rabbanan alei, the Rabbanan disagree with this. The Rabbanan hold that when you use a term of almanas, only when you fulfill the condition, then the Kidushin takes effect. Va'ana, says Rav Yehuda, I hold Amrik Rabbanan. I say like Rabbanan that the Kidushin is only chal later. Same thing like before regarding when you say me'achshav. Similar over here when you say that I'm being the Kadishu now and almanas that you're going to give money, or I'm going to give money. Gufe, so the Gemara now brings the source of where this machlekes of Rebbe and the Rabbanan was that Rav Huna said. Amar Rav Huna said, Amar Rebbe said, Kalaim almanas, kaim machshav. Dummy. When you use the term of almanas, that you're being mekadesh with a condition, it means me'achshav, that the condition takes effect retroactively from now. Amar Rab Zayda said about this, Ki avinim beBavel havamrin and had Amar Rav Huna Amar Rebbe. When I was in Bavel, I would repeat what Rav Huna said in the name of Rebbe. At Kalaim almanas kaim ma'achshav dummy. When you use the term of almanas, it means that a kedusha should take effect from now. Pligi Rabbanan alei, and that the Rabbanan argue on this, and the Rabbanan say that the kedushin takes effect only later. Kisalki lahasam, when I came to Eretz Yisrael, Ashkichel Ravasi, I found Ravasi, the Yosef v'ka'amal mishmed Rabbi Yechanan, and he said in the name of Rabbi Yechanan different, that the machlokes of Rebbe and the Rabbanan is different. Hakoil maidem, that really everybody agrees. But Omer almanas, when you use the term of almanas, that I'm being mekadesh you now on the condition, the word almanas means that the condition should be chal now. When is the machlokes of Rebbe and the Rabbanon? Only Ella in the lashon that we actually had quoted before here. Mehayim ula'acha misa. If you didn't use the term almanas, you said, I'm giving you a get today, and then you say la'acha misa, after I die. So here there's a contradiction in what the person said. He didn't say almanas. He just said now, after I die. In such a case, it's not clear what he meant. Over here is where there's machlokes, whether we say the get or the Kidushin is chal from now or later. And the Gemara brings a proof for this. V'hatanya, I'll prove to you, this is what it said in the Brisa, and this is the same Brisa that the Gemara quoted before. A person gives a get to his wife and he uses this expression, get, ve'ena get, divrei chachamim. So the chachamim say that it's a suffix if it's a get, because ula'acha misa could mean that the get is only being chal after he dies. So then it's not a get. So we see that this is where the chachamim argued. And Rabbi says, no, kazeh get. When he says me'ayim, and then he says ula'acha misa doesn't mean it's being chal then. Ula'acha misa is just a condition. And really the get is chal right now. If he passes away and doesn't change his mind, it goes back retroactively. Says the Gemara. So this is the pshat that Rav Zayda said that he heard when he came to Eretz Yisrael. Now, Rav Yehuda, going back to what we said before in the Gemara, Rav Yehuda da'ama ba'almanas nami pligi. Rav Yehuda said that even if you do use the term of almanas, which sounds more like a condition, that it's chal retroactively, that they're even arguing in that case. So adam mifligi be'mehayim ula'acha misa. Why is the machlokes in the Brisa between the Chachamim and Rebbe only brought up in the case of mehayim ula'acha misa when the term of almanas is not used? Nifligi ba'almanas. Why don't they argue even in the case of almanas? If you want to tell me how far the opinion of the Chachamim goes, so shouldn't you use explain the machlokes in a case where he said almanas, that even then the Chachamim say that possibly the get is only taking effect achamisa and therefore there's no get? Answers the Gemara, no. We'd rather, instead of saying the Chiddush of the Chachamim's opinion, l'diyacha koyach de Rebbe. According to Rav Yehuda, the only reason it brings up the machlokes in this case of Mahayim Ula'acha Misa wants to tell you how far Rebbe's opinion goes. The Mahayim Ula'acha Misa Nami Hareza Get. Even though he didn't use the term of Almanas, he just said now, and then he says after I die. It very much sounds like that he's saying that he's having charata and saying that I only want the get to be chal later. That even there, Rebbe says that the get will be chal from now. So he wants to show you how far Rebbe's opinion goes. But the Gemara asks, "V'niflagi ba'almanas." Why wouldn't they argue in the case of almanas, like Rav Yehuda says? They argue in that case as well. L'diyacha koyach de Rabbanon, to show you how far the opinion of the Rabbanon goes. That even when you use the term of almanas, the get is only chal later. Answers the Gemara, koyach de teira odif. Whenever you have an option to point out the chiddush of one Tana or another, the chiddush of heter. In this case, to say that what Rebbe is saying, that the get does take effect, and she's not an Ishus, that she's mutter, that's a much bigger chiddush, and therefore it brings up and it points out how far Rebbe's opinion goes, even if you say, Ma'yem alacha misa, the get takes effect. Going to the next case of the Mishnah, it says, person says that I'm going to give you the money within 30 days. So the Mishnah said, only if you gave it to her. Within 30 days, then she's Mukadeshes. After 30 days, she's not Mukadeshes. So the Gemara asks in this Pshita, it's obvious. He said 30 days. Answers the Gemara, I would think, the fact that he said this time frame of 30 days, that's not really a t'nai that it must be 30 days. He only said 30 days in order to just hasten, in order just to encourage that he should give it quicker. But really, whenever he gives the money, that's what the main point of the condition was, that he's going to give her the condition. Kamash Malan, therefore the Mishnah is saying, no, when he said 30 days, it's dafka. It has to be within those 30 days. Then the Mishnah said, so that if he says, I'm a Kaddish on the condition that I have 200 zuz, so she'll be Mekadeshes only if he has, if we know that he has 200 zuz. Why does the Mishnah say only if we know that Yeshle, that he has? Even if we don't know, V'neichesh Shema Yeshle, shouldn't we be concerned that maybe he has somewhere in a bank account, he somewhere has that 200 zuz? So it should be a Kidushin. V'oi, Tanya, we learned clearly in a Braisa, the Braisa says, Chayshinan Shema Yeshle, that we are going to be concerned that perhaps he has that 200 zuz. Answers the Gemara, of course this is true, like Kasha, there's no question here. The Mishnah is saying that if you want it to be a definite Kedushin, we have to see that he has 200 zuz, and Habi Kedushi Safik. The Braisa is saying that if we don't see, then it's still possible that it's only going to be a Kedushin or a Safik Kedushin. Then the Mishnah said, that is, on the condition that I show you 200 zuz. So what did the Mishnah say? That he has to show her 200 zuz that he owns himself. Tana, we learned in the Braisa, so her kavana, when she accepted this condition, was that he's going to show her that he has his own money, not just any 200 zuz sitting on the table. Then the Mishnah said, Vim ala shulchan. If he shows her 200 zuz that's sitting on a table, if he's a money changer and he has money over there that people are giving him to exchange, ain't Mekadeshes. She's not Mekadeshes, it's not his money. So the Gemara asks on this, Pshita, isn't this obvious? Because we said over here that he meant only if he shows her his own money. Some say that this is not a question on our Mishnah. This is a question really on the Braisa that I just quoted. That over there in that Braisa, when it says clearly, Loi niskavna el liris mishaloi, afterwards it says that if you showed her on the shulchan, she will not be Mekadeshes, it's obvious. So the Gemara says, Loi tzriche da'afagav denokadami be'iske. When he shows her this money that he has, that people are exchanging with him, even if this is money that people are giving him to invest, and part of the return of this investment he will get. So this money that he's showing her is not money that's not his at all. It's money that he does have a connection to with an investment. So you would think that she should be Mekadeshes with this money. So that's the Chiddush over here, that she will not be Mekadeshes.